All right, guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today I'll be doing a preview and prediction for a Week 5 contest between the TCU Horned Frogs and the Arizona State Sun Devils. ASU 2.5-point favorites, 54.5 total, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox, going down Friday night in Tempe. Looking at the TCU offense against that Sun Devil defense. For TCU, this is an offense a lot of people coming into the year felt would be one of the tops in America, and so far they're living up to that. Josh Hoover operates this Kendall Briles coached offense very well, 41.7 points per game. Hoover has been incredibly efficient, 68%, exactly 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. One pick against SMU. The receiver pretty much got the ball ripped from his hand, so it really wasn't even on him. That was when they're in the red zone, so he could have easily had another touchdown. Elite numbers to start the year for Hoover. Ever since the guy took over back in 2023, I was like, man, this guy's going to be something else, and he's been on a tear ever since. In 2025, you're really going to see him continue to elevate. This is a guy that really has a phenomenal arm, great release, a very smart football player as well, and then, of course, his pass-catching trio is very helpful. Jordan Dyer came over via transfer from FCS, and this guy showcased his athletic ability back in week 1 against UNC. It was a little bit more quieter against SMU. It's because it was the Eric McAllister show, and I ran him in fantasy because I knew at some point he was going to have a breakout performance after being very quiet to start the year, and this was more than a breakout performance. 8 grabs, 254, 3 touchdowns. Joseph Manjack has been solid with 153 yards this year. Had a touchdown, a nice one against SMU as well. So he's been a respectable number 3 options. And I think DJ Rogers is a pretty good tight end as well, veteran of the program. This is a passing attack that's operating at very high levels when it comes to their efficiency and their production through the air. The rushing attack last year, the biggest knock on them, at least from me, was that they just were not consistent enough when it came to, showcasing enough balance for this offense to not be one-dimensional. And against UNC, you saw them really take over with 258 rushing. And the last 2 games, though, they've been a little less than desirable, 140 yards, less than 140 yards each in both of those games. And you want to see 4 or 5 yards per carry type of efficiency. They don't need to blow it away like they did against UNC, but against SMU, I think that they're leaving a lot on the table, and if they do that consistently throughout the year, it could be a problem. I think 150 per game is where they need to be. And I know they were almost there in that last game, but from an efficiency standpoint, you also got to match the nod there. Kavorian Barnes, I thought, was a great addition, though, in the portal. Coming over from UTSA, this guy was able to, hit pay dirt back in week 1, didn't play against SMU, and that could have led to a lot of the issues. Jeremy Payne, Trent Battle, though, I thought they played quite well in his absence. 60 yards rushing for Battle. He's got 2 touchdowns on the year. So I think this is a really respectable backfield for TCU. You also have an offensive line that's playing very well. I think the tackle spots are a bit iffy, at least at left tackle. Ryan Hughes has not been that great of a starter. At right tackle, Ben Taylor-Whitfield is much more polished. Cade Bennett at left guard, I'm a big fan of. Colton Deary at center. He's a veteran. Then a right guard, Carso Bruno, despite being inconsistent at times, is a pretty good player. I think the Arizona State defense, though, this is still one of the top groups in the country. Against Mississippi State, they got off to a slow start, and it caused them to be behind in that game. And their defense was pitching a shutout in the second half until they got caught in some man coverage, and they were able to get beat by a touchdown to pretty much lose the game. But the defense was really good in that contest. Against the run this year, they have not cracked at all. You figured Mississippi State, they would have beat you with tempo and a strong rushing attack. Nope, that duo, really even a trio, because Shapen, he's capable at quarterback of his legs. Nothing. Baylor, they weren't able to do much. They had 1 or 2 runs that were successful, 107 total yards on the ground. This is a run defense last year that didn't crack either, and you've seen that when they played Texas. They are for real. It is a legit run defense. CJ Fight leading the way on the interior. Clayton Smith and Prince Dorba on the edge. Elijah O'Neal as well. This is a very good group, a really good defensive line. You have stout linebackers in the middle as well. Jordan Crook, Keyshawn Elliott. These guys are tremendous, playing very good football to start the year. Elliott, he's been pretty bad in coverage, though. Crook, on the other hand, has been strong in all areas. And obviously, you need more than just a strong run defense to beat TCU. But the expectation here is that they're going to be able to collapse some pockets and get some pressure on Josh Hoover. The secondary has had some issues, like against Mississippi State. They're a little beat up. The corners have just been inconsistent. Javon Robinson, he had a very good bounce-back game against Baylor, but early on in the season, he really struggled. Keith Abney, I thought, was a little bit more of a liability this past weekend against Baylor, even though he's had an elite year so far. So the corners just need to be more consistent, because it's really these two who play. They don't really rotate much at all. Rodney Bimage, he'll get on the field a little bit, but it's really these two corners getting all the reps. And they have the capability of being very strong in man coverage. And against Baylor, they did pretty well. I think a lot better than most people expected. Held them to 64%. 250. They were able to snag a pick. They had a few forced fumbles as well. Against that Baylor passing attack that is very versatile. They're very deep at wide receiver. The quarterback's really good as well. Held them to 250 yards. Kept most things in front of them. Didn't allow too many big plays either. So I think the Arizona State secondary is definitely licking their chops coming into this one, playing with some confidence, playing with some momentum. I think they also have very good players at safety, led by Miles Rouser. This guy's tremendous against the run. Kendrick Breedlove at slot. He's the one who gave up that game-winning touchdown with some miscommunication, but he hasn't been bad this year. And then you also have Xavier Alford, who's been a little bit more quieter this year. He's also been a little banged up, so you're hoping he can get on the field for this contest. But I think a recent update said that he'll probably miss a few more weeks. So Alford's not going to play in this one, which is a bit of a loss for them. Leaving Adrian Wilson to have to play ball. He's been respectable in coverage in his reps this year. So I think the safety spot may be a little bit more questionable because Ghost Rouser does play a lot of the box. He doesn't really play a whole lot of free safety. So I think the safety group might be an area you can target because those are newer players. But I think the corners are going to hold up quite well in this matchup. I think they're going to be able to collapse the pocket a little bit more. But Josh Hoover, with that quick release, can still burn you. Even if you're playing pretty much perfect on defense, he can still hurt you. Looking at the other side of things, the Arizona State offense on the Frogs defense. For ASU, it's been less than desirable for them, I think, on offense. This is a group that's just not clicking and playing with the same umph that you would have expected. And it's really because they haven't really been able to progress at all in the passing attack. And I think, if anything, they've probably regressed. Sam Leavitt not playing his best ball. Only a 61% comp rate this year. 3 interceptions. He does have 10 total touchdowns, as they've looked to really incorporate his legs a lot. And I think that's really been a big strong point for this offense, mainly against Baylor, where they were using his legs to near perfection. 15 attempts. That was a season high for him. A lot of jet sweeps, a lot of downhill runs. Leavitt's legs have been monumental. I mean, he showcased his elusiveness against Texas State as well. A couple of highlight reel plays. So Leavitt's really developing his game in terms of being a balanced player. That's just kind of because he's been forced to. In the passing attack, it's more than just Jordan Tyson is what you need. And I think that's why you're seeing so many issues, because as good as he is and as productive he is, 31 receptions, 357, and 5 scores, they're not able to get him the ball as much as you saw last year. 15 targets a game minimum is what he was getting, it seemed. And coming off season lows, lows that I've not seen in a long time. 7 grabs for 43 yards and a touchdown. It was a big touchdown. He had to have it play. He showcased his leaping ability in that one. They had the 2-point conversion right after. So he's still making big plays for him. Shimon Mateer at tight end, the only other guy really doing anything in the passing game. 6 grabs for 55 yards. Back-to-back games now with similar numbers like that. So I think he's a really good part of your offense at tight end. Other than that, nobody else is really catching the football a whole lot. Your Relic Brown, Kyson Brown at running back, they're really getting a lot of touches. A combined 18 receptions between those two guys. And of course, you look at that rushing attack, it's really carrying the team so far. The second half against Mississippi State, these guys were just running it all over them, and that's been the theme this year. They ran the ball 48 times for less than 200 yards. They weren't all that efficient against Baylor. They were able to stay ahead of the sticks for the most part. I think this is a good group. Relic Brown, the aforementioned guy, he's a very explosive player, has nice patience, and he can hit the hole in a hurry as well. Kanye Udo wasn't used as much against Baylor, but he did have a 100-yard game against the Bulldogs. And then Kyson Brown, coming back from injury, is going to be utilized a good bit as well. So this is a nice 3-headed monster that they have. It's a nice rushing attack for ASU that I'm a fan of. I like what they've been able to do this year. But in terms of balance, this offense seems a little bit lost, especially in the red zone. They're just abysmal. They can't throw it in the red zone. The interior offensive line gets cooked when they try to run on the inside. And you've seen them get stuffed numerous times on the goal line, which is really concerning. Ben Coleman's a very good center. Kyle Scott at right guard's a veteran. Jamito Bigobo, that is, at left guard. He's been a good player, but they're just not getting pushed at the goal line. Short yardage is a big problem for them. They keep running it downhill. We got to get more creative. Implement some jet sweeps or something. I think the inverted veers that they do when the running back comes in motion and Leavitt makes a decision, those have been very beneficial for this offense. Josh Atkins at left tackle hasn't given up a sack, but he's given up some pressures. And then right tackle, Max and Ankor has been tremendous this year. So it's a veteran offensive line. They're really good. But the balanced attack has just not been evident for Arizona State. They're going up against the TCU defense. It's largely improved. I think they'll continue to do so this year. I like some of the players they have. Devon and Marcus Deal coming off the edge, and then on the interior, the two brothers are great. Devon's a phenomenal pass rusher. Marcus on the interior is a great run stopper. You also have Paul Owele. He's been great, especially against the run this year. And Zeldin Muba, he's been good. Zach Chapman, I think when he's on the field and healthy, he's pretty good. So it's a much improved group when it comes to the defensive line. This is a defense for TCU. Of course, it's been criticized for their lack of athletic ability, their inability to get to the passer as well. They do have 8 sacks this year. They're able to get 2 against SMU. The middle of the defense for TCU, I love the linebackers they have. Caleb Elarms-Orr stepping into a starting role next to Nambi Obizor. Obizor is great. This guy's a very efficient tackler. He can do damage as a pass rusher. He's very good at slicing gaps against the run. Elarms-Orr is more of that volume tackler for them in the middle. Those guys have been great to start the year. Elarms-Orr, though, a little bit more inconsistent in coverage. I think the cornerback group for TCU can certainly be tested. Shannon Canada, Vernon Glover, Javon McIver gets involved as well. So it's really those three guys that are doing most of the work at safety. I think it's an elite duo. Jamel Johnson coming off a 2-interception game, including one that sealed the deal. And then Bud Clark, he's a ball hawk as well. He had a pick six against North Carolina. And these guys have been doing it pretty much their entire career. When it comes to them getting into the box and making plays against the run, especially with their tackling ability, they do it very well. So I think this is a big advantage for TCU to get these guys into the box and to make plays against the run. They're also great in coverage. So it's really the safeties leading the way for them. I just think they're tremendous in all regards, and it's going to be tough for Arizona State because it seems like this offense is just working backwards. And against Baylor, it was expected to be a shootout, and I thought they played a pretty good game overall, though, to not put themselves in too many bad situations. Now I move to the final thoughts on the prediction. I love TCU. I think it's a great team. I love their offense. Josh Hoover is a standout. I think he's going to continue to put up great numbers. But I think that this Sun Devil defense is legit. I think they do really well when it comes to stopping the run. I think their secondary, despite some of the inconsistencies, is still capable of making plays in these games to keep their team in it. They're not giving up too many big plays. Against Baylor, I thought they played a lot better than most anticipated. And against Mississippi State, despite some of the big plays they gave up early, they really rallied. And I know the game ended in a poor way for them, but it's a secondary that I trust. The front six is great with their linebackers. I think they're going to come up with some good stops in this one. And I think their offense, they're going to continue to run the football. I think the passing attack is going to get a little bit more loosened up in this one. I think there'll be a little bit more space across the middle of the field. I think you'll see some misdirection and some motion. They'll be able to free up some winnable opportunities for their pass catchers in this one. So I think Arizona State's going to hold on. I think they'll cover, win by 4, 2.5 over ranked TCU. But this one's honestly a pick 'em. Could go either way, but I still think the Sun Devils are being disrespected for that loss against Mississippi State, going on the road in the SEC country. And I think that they're still trying to build back up what is the defending Big 12 championship roster that is still very talented, especially on defense. So I'm going to take ASU to get the job done in this one. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.